for about a month on LV. He was screaming devastatingly. It was lasting for months. Psychiatrists prescribed us nootropics. Drugs had been involved. Nothing could help. Infinite number of workings through. We had been deceived for our own money. After the Israel story, we were very afraid. There was no contact at all. You simply don't know what to do next. What do we know about happiness? He stopped polishing the floor with his excrements. We have a sport evening tonight. Hello, Silva. Hello. Please tell us about yourself, about your son, about your life. My name is Silva. At the present moment, my son is 6 years old. We learned about our diagnosis when he was about 2 years old. When he was 1 and 8, I noticed that there was something wrong with my child. He was born on the 8th month with severe pneumonia. We stayed at the resuscitation department and the delivery was difficult. I was also ill. I had an amniotic fluid infection. And also my baby stayed in the resuscitation department for about a month and a half and for about a month on LV. And of course his brain was damaged. And of course the doctors warned me that I would have to practice with the child and to do something, to take him to neurologist. But at the time I couldn't comprehend this moment, that there would be some difficulties. And when my child was 1 year and 8, I noticed that he had some stereotypic movements. I went to a neuropathologist, to an acquaintance as usual on the bush telegraph. And I was told that he had autistic features and we had to take a course of some medicine, vitamins. We took the month's course of vitamins, medicine. And there were no results and things got even worse. And I went to the doctor again and she added some more medicine. And it was the same for about 6 months. When the doctors make the diagnosis autism, they never consider previous incarnations. And in general, the way the soul manifests itself and how it used to live during its previous incarnations. And the case of Silver and Camo was really extraordinary. First of all, there was a lot of aggression in previous incarnations. And Camo's previous incarnation, when we observed his story, we saw the moment when he used to live in Papuan tribes. Thus, it was quite a long period of time. And when we began to explore why such a time gap had occurred in the child's subconsciousness, we found out that in his previous life drugs had been involved. And because of this, his psyche had begun to work in a totally different way already in his previous incarnations. And it resulted into the current disease of a child. Then I realized that he was getting worse and worse. It was impossible even to go outside. Even in the floor was of different colors, he wouldn't step there. He would look attentively, did what it was. He was yelling and screaming. It was impossible to meet with people. It was impossible to invite guests. Even if the relatives came, nearest and dearest, he would be screaming devastatingly. It was terrifying. And then there was a great event. And when I brought my child to the hall, he began to scream and we came home. And then I began to look on the internet what was autism in general, and I began to realize and comprehend that it was our case. And of course, it was very painful to realize it, to comprehend it and to accept. Really, it took me a long time to accept this. So then we followed the regular system. We went to psychiatrists prescribed nootropics. We took them for a couple of months, psychotropics. But these were terrifying months because at first nothing helped and at second was terrible, inadequate. And anything wasn't possible at all. Neither to eat, not to change clothes, not to take bath. So it was very difficult. And of course, the whole family was on edge. Everybody was nervous. Then our psychiatrist suggested to apply for disability certificate so we could have some additional money for his education and have some benefits. We received the disability certificate. Of course, I didn't want to do this, but I had, because we needed some financial support at the time. We also want to correct the child's neck. He wore a cervical collar for a long time. After all, we tried needle therapy. Then we began to try to take him to kindergarten. We thought if he had gone to kindergarten, he would have at least some adaptation. But at that time, I didn't realize that the kids there were also difficult. I mean that my child didn't have any adequate communication, which I supposed he would have. So he was getting even worse there, and I didn't realize this. But then, of course, I realized that my child shouldn't go there, and we stayed at home. Then I met an Israeli specialist, as he called him. So we went there. He prevailed on me to go there. He said everything would be great, my child would recover, the miracles happened there, and so on. So we came there, yes, everything was great, they met us very well, everything was amazing at the time. When we came home, in a month or two, I realized that we had been deceived for our own money. And then I fell into such a deep, very deep depression. And I guess I wouldn't be able to get over this depression if it weren't for the girls in our chat. At that point in time, Irina introduced me to Natalia, and Oля also supported me a lot. I'm very grateful to the girls, because many people realize that when you're going through a difficult time, excuse me for this, and you realize that you don't know what to do next. So you simply don't know what to do next, because then I just got down on my knees and I was praying to God. I said, God, I simply don't know what to do next. I used to know what to do before. I thought this method would help, this method would help, but when I came to the conclusion that nothing could help, and I didn't know what to do anymore. So I realized that my family could be destroyed, my life and my child. What was the environment in your family at that time? Of course it was very tense, because even my dad couldn't come to our house because my son became hysterical, screamed, and when everybody at home, and even my husband was on age, it got even to the point that we said that nobody can come to us. And my husband even told that he would take our son and go into monastery. Thus everything was so difficult. We were in such a state of severe shock, when you don't know what to do and what would be the outcome of the situation in future. But we continued trying. I never gave up. We went to Anapa for rehabilitation, we went to Belorechensк for rehabilitation. Of course, I'm grateful to Sidraka Drannikovich Martikyan. We have visited a lot of his rehabilitations. But he helped me a lot in situations when my child had crisis. And he didn't sleep at nights, and he had very severe crisis. It started at 7 p.m., he clutched his head and he was screaming devastatingly, as if somebody was chasing him or he had some hallucinations. And honestly speaking, something was already wrong with me. Somehow I felt even scared to stay around him. He had already boxed me into such a corner. I felt such a hysterical and panic fear. Kamo's story is one of the most difficult ones. When Silver turned to us, Kamo had an incredible amount of aggression in his subconsciousness. Besides, this aggression was also present in the family. This is quite understandable. The family was simply tired of screams, tired of negativity, tired of insanity. And this tension, it was everywhere. It was outside, it was inside. And when we began to work with the child's subconsciousness, we were rising layer by layer. And there was aggression everywhere. In fact, we worked with this child at first every day, then twice a week, and it lasted for months. There was infinite number of workings through, only to reach the light layer in the subconsciousness where aggression would end up. While doing this, we found new methods of releasing aggression, of speech hearing of some layers. It was an enormous amount of work. And when I got acquainted with Natalia, of course I talked to my husband. I told him, but both of us, after the Israel story, we were very afraid that we could get cheated again. I'm speaking frankly as it is. We had a lot of fears and doubts, but somehow something in my heart told me that it was worth it. And I just gave myself a word that it would be for the last time that I would confide myself in a person, because if I had had such a collapse in my soul once again, I wouldn't have been able to bear it. What do you think? Why did this disease appear? Honestly speaking, I realized that it came to our life for a reason. It wanted to change us, our consciousness. Now my consciousness is totally different. He has turned me 180 degrees around, this child, because I was absolutely different before. I used to be a typical woman as everyone else. I used to have a musical side and some bees in my bonnet, but now everything is different. My consciousness is different. I think differently. I comprehend the situations differently. Of course, I have a lot of things to work on, as you never stop learning. But in general, all these fears, some negative moments, a lot of negativity has gone out of our life. Because when we had the working through, and it was on the 11th of May, the last year, we had a working through, Natalia said that there was a lot of negativity in us and in our previous lives, previous incarnations. At the beginning of our work, we saw an aggressive mother. The mother who wasn't able to hear anything we were telling her. The mother was in pain. She turned a deaf ear to all practices we were giving her. It is always pleasant to observe changes in the mother, and when the mother changed, really changed, her child also began to change. Because it is true that all the transformations, any transformations require time. And all the transformations within a person occur quite slowly because it requires changes of your reaction component. You need to behave differently, talk differently, think differently, hear the other people in a different way, as well as your child. Besides, you need to get rid of your aggression to comprehend where had it come from, to comprehend your karmic story. This is a huge transformational process which we were overcoming day after day, month after month. And it was the result of correspondence, the result of conversations, the result of trainings. It was a huge block of work. Please tell us about the first impressions you had when you were watching the video. They didn't tell us when exactly they would be working through, they just said it would be at the weekend. And I had such a state as if I was in the elevator and I was going up and down all of a sudden, and if somebody was poking around within me, and even ad nauseum, I felt it deeply, and the child was also restless at that moment. And then I think I wrote that something was going on, and I received the video right away, in 20 minutes, I guess. Of course, when I saw the video, there was so much information and a lot of inconceivable for me. And of course I was in shock, but I did everything automatically, as Natalia said. I repeated, pronounced everything. And as I was told, the most important at first was not to comprehend it, but to believe in it, to go into it. And the work gets done, as it said. When doctors prescribe us pills, we take them. And then, if it helps, it will help. The same was here. At first step, I needed to absorb this information, to comprehend it, to accept it, to process it. And I was processing it for a very long time, during many months. And each time some new came out, either gratitude or some rage. And all this happened in such an interesting way when I observed from the side. And then I realized after I had a result that yes, there had really been some working through in my head. Try to remember what were the first results. I remember the first results perfectly well. The sight of my child changed. And you know how it was. He began to hug me a lot. And he has never hugged me before. He used to push me away all the time, and it hurt me. Why did my child push me away? And I love him. And he has begun to hug me and even to kiss me. And I was so happy. For me, it was an incredible result that my child was already healthy because he hugged me, loved me, manifested himself. For us, the first results were when Camo stopped polishing the floor with his excrements. The next was, of course, when he, and I wrote to Natalia at once, he ate the whole plate of soup by himself. You know, there were moments when he turned on and manifested himself. He either ate soup or wanted something or asked for a potty chair, and it came as waves. You wrote that he has development delay, no self-service, soils his pants or diapers, plays on his own, puts anything into his mouth, impossible to go anywhere with him, breaks things, afraid of closed doors, spits for no reason as well as laughs for no reason. Can you tell the most bright details about these moments? Yes, it was very terrifying. The child woke up in the morning. It was impossible to dress him up. He didn't have a game, he didn't understand toys. I tried to explain to him that the car rides, and he was simply throwing them. He used to break everything. We used to have so many toys. My husband had been always buying toys for kids. Right now we have almost nothing left because he used to break almost everything. He used to crumble the cookies all over the floor. That is, he was like a little destroyer, like a little beast living in our home. He didn't have almost any development. He could turn on some consciousness for a while, and then he shrunk into himself once again. He could spend hours sitting on the sofa and swaying from side to side. There was no speech, no pointing gesture. That is, almost any development. There was no socialization. There was almost nothing. And those results we were trying to achieve with the help of some other rehabilitations, they faded as soon as the child got a bit sick. They all shrink to nullity. It was like we were banging our heads against the wall. I struggled to teach him something, to instill something, and then bang, it was gone. It was almost driving me crazy. I thank God for that I hadn't lost my mind. There were really many years of hard work which didn't yield any tangible results. In the classical psychological methods and approaches, it is conventional to add information to already existing one in the subconsciousness. Imagine that the subconsciousness is like a swamp plant, and you are throwing and throwing and throwing into it, and it will drown there anyway. And to be able to upload, reload, or install new information, it is necessary to destroy the old traumas, to destroy the old comic stories. In fact, it is the same as in computer to reinstall Windows. And this work, very tough work with aggression, took us for about 4, 5, maybe 6 months, when we were simply skimming off everything old and we prepared Camo to uploading new information. So new information, lessons with speech therapists, teachers, osteopaths, and so on would be already installing into the prepared psyche, and it would begin to absorb it and to provide the manifested result. And the work with this swamp plant is really very labor intensive, very tough, and lasting many days. And it took us a great deal of time and provided us with the opportunity to build up a base in a quality manner for embedding new information into Camo. Did he have stimmings? He used to have severe stimmings. He was howling all the time. He could bang all day long like this. It was impossible to stand this or even to tell him to stop. He didn't understand me, that he shouldn't behave like this, because any person with normal psyche couldn't stand this. As this was happening all the time, every day, I didn't even want to wake up in the mornings, as I knew what was waiting for me. Do you remember you wrote to describe the most tough moment when he defecated and polished the floor with his excrements? There were tough moments when I entered the room and my child was simply scratching his gums till the blood. In the morning I entered his room and he was all covered in blood. and all his bed was sorry for this covered with in poops. Thus it was very difficult, and the moment somehow turned my hand around. How was Kamo developing then, already after the Birkins through? So his side has changed. He has begun to show his love to me. He sees me. He wants to hug me and the world around him. It was so interesting to watch how he noticed things around him, how he observed everything. So that's how it started. And then gradually socialization. He has learned how to use his potty chair, and then little by little everything has begun to turn on. Were there any backlashes? Yes, there were, and many times, and there even were the situations when his soul wanted to leave us twice. Once there was a conflict with my soul, and the second time it was at the New Year's Eve, there was a conflict with his dad. It was terrible, because when he had such a backlash, it seemed that he forgot everything. And I began to write to Natalia asking what was going on. It seemed that I didn't scold him, our New Year celebration was fine, everything was great, and then a sudden backlash. And he was crying all the time. And when he was off his head, my mom said, maybe you should give him a pill to calm him down. I gave him pills for 2 days, and then Natalia wrote me, don't give any drugs at all, because she said they were displacing his soul. And Natalia made another working through, and the next morning he woke up a totally normal child. His sight was all right, his eyes. That is, the child was already all right while waking up, but his soul was still going through the stress he had experienced before. Just imagine, you have installed Windows, and you need to install additional software. And at this moment, something unknown is suddenly split it all around. And after this, you fix your computer all over again, you install Windows all once again something splits it, and all over again. The third time, Kamo's soul said it wasn't able to install information correctly. It needs to upload it from somewhere, but it is not able to upload it from the surrounding where he is. And it was the period when we simply didn't know what to do, and we suggested his soul to do it itself. We said, let us take you to the field of possibilities, and you will choose the best variant by yourself. The one where it will be the easiest way for you to upload the information, the correct information, which will help you to recover psyche and to create another life scenario where Kamo is healthy. And it found the variant and said, okay, I will find a new family. We didn't comprehend it at once. And imagine our surprise when less than in 2 months, Kamo received a new family of teachers, and he began to upload information which is being installed today, and the child's development is going very quickly. And from time to time the soul comes to us very happy and says, now I have installed this, and now I have installed that, I lived through this period and I reload that period, and we are very happy to observe this. And it was a great amount of work, our work, the soul's work, the parents and the child's. And every day our defectologist came to our house and practiced with him. And of course I was sharing with her and telling her about Natalia, and she was the only person who understood me, was okay with what I told her, and she didn't think I had lost my mind when I was telling her all this, because people seem to be close to all this. When you begin telling him, they kind of think you are crazy and that all is impossible. And when I was sharing with her, telling her, in a while she suggested me that Kamo would stay and live with her for a while at her house. She said she was a long-term defectologist and she was a restorer. And she is occupied with him all the time. She socializes him, gives him speech lessons, massages. And of course, we took time to think. I was thinking for a week whether I would be able or not to do this. And I came to a conclusion that it wasn't the time to think about myself, because we used to have a huge conflict in our family. as nobody could understand the child, and even I couldn't understand my child anymore. And once again, the same as before, I prayed to God, down on my knees, I appealed to the God. I don't know what to do. I realized that Kamo needed a different surrounding. In simple words, a different family, because in our family he didn't have any chance to progress. And in a while, Anaid suggested us, made us an offer to take our child to her place for a complete rehabilitation. And I said yes. I agreed, as I comprehended that my child needed this, his soul needed this, it needed to continue progressing. Of course, as any other mother, I was doubting and hesitating whether it would help or whether it was worth doing, that he would be offended at my actions in the future, that I had done like this. And in a month I realized that I did right, that I had taken the right decision, that my child was getting better. Now he doesn't wear diapers at all, he doesn't wet his pants anymore or poop his pants even at night. The child has total socialization, he can eat by himself. It is still a little bit difficult for him as his motor skills are progressing. He struggles to use the spoon, but he does it by himself anyway. Then, what else? Games have appeared. He has begun to play with toy cars. He has begun to play with the ball. He has begun to ride a kick scooter. That is a total socialization. He already eats everything. And now, for 10 days after the breaking through, Natalia has asked us to tell everything what was going on with us. And during these 10 days, miracles also happen. At the present moment, it is much easier to work with Kamo. His mother constantly provides feedbacks as to his changes, and we're able to make some little corrections, which lead to great changes in his life. My child has begun to eat by himself. Now he eats everything. Before we used to blend his food as he required all the necessary vitamins, pumpkin, fish, and he didn't eat this. Now he doesn't look at what it is, whether it is blended food or not. He eats everything with relish. They say that they barely manage to peel fried fish for him. He eats very good. He has begun to be aware of the world around him. Yesterday, our rehabilitologist Anaid sent us a message. She said, "He has surprised me a lot, and today I realized that Kamo is a unique child, and everything is going to be great." I'm Anaid. I'm a special teacher with 30 years experience of work. We started to work with Kamo in January 2019. The child used to be inadequate, very nervous. There was no contact at all. Then in May, I had to leave under particular circumstances, and I came back in October, and we continued our lessons. The child has changed greatly. The result was obvious. His mother said that they had started to work with Natalia. They had started to work before January, and since January the child began to live at my place. The results are obvious. He has started to eat by himself. His socialization progresses. He pronounces some words. We practice with him every day. I develop his memory, his attention. The child communicates with his peers easily, adequately, without aggression. The contact has been established. We continue our lessons and we follow Natalia's advices, who teaches and helps us. Of course, when I receive such messages, I cry for joy, because it used to be like a dream for me before that things could be like this. I have been dreaming about this. I knew that the things should be like this. And now all this is happening to us. And I realize that I'm like in a dream, and it is already happening to me. When I watched the videos of the other moms, I was happy. I'm happy for all kids' progress. And I used to think when there would be the moment when I could say my child is not autistic anymore. And today I can finally say this because autism declines in its importance. The only thing we need is simply to write his development. What do we know about happiness? Everybody has his own one. The happiness in the family is when there is peace and quiet, when kids run and play, when they grow healthy. The happiness for us, for infodivers, is when we observe the results of our work. You can compare the child he used to be and the child he is now. There are totally different kids. The mother she used to be and the mother she is now. There are different mothers. And we realize that right the same way his father has changed, his grandparents, his surrounding, this was the wave of love which came to the house and displaced, forced out anger and aggression. And this love simply brings happiness to everybody, brings happiness to neighbors, to people around, brings happiness to the whole world. And this is the infodiver's work. How does he interact with his brothers and sisters? He didn't like Raichka before because Raichka is our youngest child and she is a little bit Perstasam girl. Kamo used to push her all the time and he didn't want to be friends with her. Before the working through, he didn't want to be friends even his elder brother, to have fellowship with him. After the working through, I sent the video to Natalia where the children were playing all together in the yard, run after each other and even play catch-up at home. Thus some kind of relationship has appeared between them. He has begun to notice them, that it is possible to interact with them, and now my child already interacts with the other kids. There is full contact. He comes up, he can touch the hair if he likes a girl, he can share. He usually goes for a walk with some treats and he shares with everybody. I see that everything is great with my child. He has socialization and his memory progresses. The child is developing. They can practice with his teacher for 4 hours straight. She says, I'm already tired, and he is not. He takes working sheets, some materials by himself and brings to me. He calls for her so they could do something together. He demands attention all the time. Miracle for people is when a child used to be ill and now he has become healthy. Miracle for infodivers is a very complicated story, a very serious problem in psyche. You got there, found it, found the reason, the variants of the solution, developed the algorithms, reached it, reprogrammed it, changed it, studied the software, worked it through for almost a year of regular work. And then, phew, the result. This is the miracle for infodivers. He enjoys riding a kick scooter. This is his new passion. He likes playing with a ball. And he loves nature a lot. He likes going for a walk. When they went for a walk yesterday, they walked for a long time and they even had a picnic. She said that the child had received a lot of pleasure and he even asks for going for a walk. He says, walk. And he started to use new sentences. He can say, I know, give me yummy. Before he just murmured. He used to have 1-2 words. Give, he could say, it. Now he is able to connect the words or even to pronounce some sentence in Armenian. Do you have anything to say to all the people, or particularly to the parents of such kids? Of course, I would like to wish all the parents who are thinking right now whether to take a consultation for their kids or not, I wish them to take the consultation as it totally changes your life. You become different and your kids become different as well. And you realize why it has come to your life, what for. Because you need to comprehend your life and to change it, to start moving differently, not according to the programs of this world. Because God wants to tell us that there is something more bigger than everything else we are thinking about. People usually think about small things, and God has prepared for us something bigger, and so we could reach this bigger, we have to work on ourselves. That is why our kids help us a lot with this. And never give up. Always believe and know that this day and this time will come when you will be able to say clearly, Yes, we used to have it in the past, but it has gone. And you will be proud for your child and for yourselves as well that you did this. Yes, there were some doubts and some difficulties, but it was necessary to go through this. And I want to say thank you to InfoDivers. My gratitude has no limit, and I don't even know how to express my gratitude. So much has happened in my life, and such huge changes we could ever ask for. And our dreams come true, and I am very grateful to you. Thank you for that you have accepted us, that you helped us, that you stick to your word. What are your plans for future? Right now, I have an opportunity to manifest myself. My child is developing and I'm manifesting myself here and now. I'm working right now and as to come more, of course, to help him with his progress, so my child could go to school and then in future so he would be a good student as all the other kids, so everything would be great. He will manifest himself the way he wants, and I'm not going to order him to tell him what university to enter. He will choose by himself. Thank you, Silva, for the interview. It was a pleasure to talk to you. You are doing great. Hug your kids, give them attention, because it is obvious that they want your attention now. All the best.